this week's history video, I'd like to discuss how the Democratic Party was founded. After the Federalists collapsed, the Democrat-Republican Party, which was what Thomas Jefferson founded, essentially became the entire country. It became a one-party system. And in the presidential elections of James Monroe, he was unopposed when he ran for re-election in 1820. He got all but one electoral vote so that they could reserve for George Washington the honor of a unanimous election. In 1824, when Monroe retired, there became a huge, aggressive election consisting of 4 candidates, not representing factions or parties, but just individual personalities competing with each other for the office. And it resulted in a huge scandal when nobody got a majority. Andrew Jackson from Tennessee, the Western candidate, was the one who ran first, and behind him John Quincy Adams from Massachusetts, and behind him Henry Clay from Kentucky. A guy named Crawford ran but finished 4th. As a result, it went into the House of Representatives for the only time in our country's history. And the 3rd place finisher, Clay, had a tremendous ability to influence the outcome between Adams and Jackson. And even though Jackson got more electoral votes and more popular votes than Adams, Clay threw his support to Adams. And as soon as Adams was elected president, he appointed Clay his Secretary of State, which was the traditional jumping-off point to become president himself. That outraged Andrew Jackson and the supporters from the western part of the country. And it was seen as a New England attempt to hijack the political process and have the insiders in Congress decide who ought to be the president rather than the people. Well, one of the main observers at the time was Martin Van Buren, who was the political leader in New York State. And Van Buren got a hold of Jackson and said, hey, if you're going to run again in 1828, I want to help you. And let's cut out New England and let New York and the South and the West unite and form an effort to get you elected. And Jackson agreed. And he and Van Buren worked closely in the election of 1828, which resulted in Jackson's getting a victory, both in Electoral College and in the popular vote. Jackson's vice president during that first term was John C. Calhoun from the South, who Jackson cordially hated, and as soon as he could, he dumped him from the ticket. And when Jackson ran for re-election in 1832, he ran on a ticket with Martin Van Buren from New York. That alliance between the South and the West and New York became really the pivot of a new political faction. And then Van Buren set about using the power of Jackson's presidency to cement patronage and jobs throughout the country so that this alliance of New York and the South and the West would be solidified and would become the basis of a new political party. And that was really the birth of the Democratic Party. In 1836, Van Buren himself ran for president and was elected. So you had a 12-year period of Van Buren structuring the politics of the country in such a way that the Democratic Party could emerge. And it emerged with 2 factions, the New York faction and the South and the West faction. And that ultimately led to the fissure that elected Lincoln in 1860 and led to the Civil War, when the Northern Democrats and the Southern Democrats diverged and Lincoln ran up the middle. So that's how the Democratic Party came to be. In the next history video next week, we'll discuss how the Republican Party came to be. Thanks for watching.